Didn't see there. You caught me reading my book about women artists. Wait, what's that? You want to hear about the language and structure that Rachel Slade uses in her book, Making It in America, to convey her message? Wow, what an oddly specific request. Well, I'd be glad to help you. Hello everyone, my name is Ethan Saporta, and welcome back to another episode of Literary Analysis with Ethan Saporta! Now, I'd like to invite you guys to meet my good friend over here, Rachel Slade, the author of the book Making It into America. We've had a lot of requests to cover this book, so as requested for, I will be covering it right now. Essentially, it provides an overview of the history of American manufacturing and how it got impossible to produce in the US for cheap and on a large scale. Slade's main point is that despite the popular belief that manufacturing in the US is in an irreversible decline, she argues that through a combination of investment, worker empowerment, and renewed application for skilled trades, there's a real possibility to revive it. Hey, Rachel, personally, I couldn't agree more. So, Rachel manages to craft a very convincing argument throughout her book, but we don't really know how she does that. Well, I'm here to tell you, as with everything, the key comes down to the words that she uses. Now, I think it's time we dive right in and explain how the way that Slade uses language and structure aids her in conveying her message. Well, the way Slade structures her text and uses language to her advantage in order to convey her message is honestly masterful. She often uses clear, journalistic language, making complicated topics much easier to understand. This, along with her use of a case study approach, which mentions the broad topic and then applies it to a specific factory or person, allows for an easily digestible story. And this is honestly the greatest part about the book. The way that she manages to make this seemingly impossible, massive topic easy to tackle and engaging. She further aids her goal by employing vivid anecdotes to humanize her story to balance out the variety of data she mentions. The big R over here also often uses direct quotes when appropriate to convey a point that's important to the larger story. The following quote is a great example of how she does this. "There's no evil that's inflicted more pain and more suffering than racism," he told the crowd. And it's something we in the labor movement have a special responsibility to challenge. It's our special responsibility because we know better than anyone else how racism is used to divide working people. Now, this is a very, very powerful sentence, so I'd like to just dive straight into it. The speaker here, Bob Trunka, uses strong language to show that racism is both a deep moral wrong and a threat to the labor movement. By saying racism has caused the most pain and suffering, he appeals to emotion. Repeating special responsibility makes it clear that labor workers have a duty to fight it. And he also argues that racism is used to divide workers, which weakens their power. This makes fighting racism not just the right thing to do, but also necessary for labor unity. Overall, the message is clear and powerful, calling on workers to take action together. Now, Rachel had a stroke of genius in including this. This use of her quotations, it really allows her to, like I said, show the state of unions and the labor movement in general at this point in the story. Now, I'd like to circle on back to something I mentioned before. In the chapter about American roots, she has a really, really good example of case study. She follows the story of Ben Waxman, the founder of the American Roots Manufacturing Company, and the workers he hires. She then goes on to give a mini profile of one of the workers' backgrounds, like how they came to work at the factory and their personal struggles. Then, she ties that individual's experiments to the broader mission of American Roots, to prove that American manufacturing can still thrive. And that's really just what she does throughout the entire book, again and again. She takes a individual example and ties it to the greater message. American manufacturing isn't done for. Rachel Slade also manages to convey her purpose of showing the challenges of domestic manufacturing in the US by showing the personal stories like those of Ben and Whitney Waxman to appeal to an audience's emotion by illustrating their struggles as American entrepreneurs in a way that we can understand. For example, to emphasize the difficulty of bringing manufacturing to the US, Slade describes Ben's awareness of the challenges, explaining that Waxman knew the odds were against him, but he still believed in a future where American workers could reclaim their role in the textile industry. Furthermore, Slade highlights the emotional tours of entrepreneurship by showing Whitney's growing concerns, explaining Whitney watched as their savings dwindled out, being outcompeted. Then, Slade goes on to explain, through Ben's eyes, the state of the labor movement by saying the labor movement was like a funeral. It was death. All of these examples go to show that Big R over here succeeds in using simple, impactful language, powerful quotes, and a case study approach with a variety of anecdotes to craft a powerful and captivating story. Thank you for tuning in to Literary Analysis with Easton Supporta. I'll catch you on the flip side.
You used to call me on my cell phone. Say like when you need me now. Call me on my cell phone. Say like when you need me now. I know when I like it. You know when you want to.